What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Breakpoint Breakdown. What a break we had. It was over 2 weeks. I was busy with so many different things, so apologies for being late, but we are back here at Breakpoint Breakdown. In fact, the break that we had, though, was so long that not only were we not able to cover Cincinnati at all, I wasn't even able to get to the Toronto final that we left off on when I previewed it. That was the last video, the preview video for the Toronto final between Khachanov and Shelton. So I still haven't talked about that final at all yet. That's how long this break has been. It's felt like a lot has happened over these last 2 weeks, and that is true. A lot has happened over the last 2 weeks. So we're going to get to that. What we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about Cincinnati. We'll actually start with Cincinnati. Then we'll get to the Toronto final between Khachanov and Shelton. And then, of course, we'll be doing the draw preview for the US Open, where I go through the entire draw and you get to see my picks from first round to last of what I think will happen. So that'll be at the end of the video, but we're going to start with Cincinnati. And let's get to it. Let's get to that final. Obviously, a very unfortunate ending for what happened there. If you weren't familiar, it was episode 13 of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Now, Sinner and Alcaraz have met, what I was going to say is Sinner and Alcaraz have played in the same draw this year for 5 tournaments. Now, out of 4 of those 5 tournaments, they have played in the final. These are Federer and Nadal things from back in 07, 08, in those late 2000s. That is what we are seeing from these two guys. It's actually been 4 consecutive finals dating all the way back to May. It's Rome, Roland Garros, Wimbledon, and now it was just Cincinnati. And with the way it's actually worked out, they've actually played once a month. So they played once in May in Rome, once in June, Roland Garros final, July, Wimbledon final, now August, Cincinnati final, and if they play in the US Open final, it'll be in September, so it'll be 5 consecutive meetings in finals and 5 consecutive months of playing each other once. So, I mean, this is pretty special, the way it's working out. They've played on all 3 surfaces this year, but let's get to it. 5-love Alcaraz in the first set, and Jannik Sinner retires due to an illness. Now, look, this match is going to have absolutely no implications for the US Open whatsoever, alright? So, look, I'm sorry if you are an Alcaraz fan, but the reality of this, of how the match played out, because they only played 5 games for about 20-25 minutes, one player was not healthy at all whatsoever. And from what I saw in this match, look, the 20-25 minutes that they did play this match, Alcaraz was able to keep the errors at bay. But Sinner, you could tell, was clearly not 100%. You could probably tell by the second or third game that something was off. I mean, his body language looked terrible out there. There were certain points where he was just trying to ball bash, just trying to hit winners all over the place, which is, that's not his game at all. So that was very uncharacteristic from him. You knew something was up with him, but you just didn't know exactly what. And so Alcaraz wins the first 5 games, and Sinner takes a medical timeout, and we find out that he's not feeling great then. He might have said he's dizzy. I can't remember if that was him or Zverev, which we'll talk a little bit about later as well. But yeah, and then he unfortunately has to retire. Him and Alcaraz hug it out. Alcaraz, gracious and sporting as ever. He did not celebrate at all, which was very nice to see from Carlos. He was just as concerned as Jannik seemed for Jannik. So, look, again, there's just not much we can go off of here. You know, if these guys do end up playing in the US Open final, if we get another meeting between them, we can't really go off of this meeting because we just didn't get anything for there. So, look, all I hope is that Jannik Sinner is healthy and raring to go for the US Open, and it seems like he has been. Because and by the way, we did find out over the past few days, Darren Cahill on ESPN did come out and say that he was struggling with a virus and that he's been in bed the past few days, but his first practice was on Thursday at the US Open, and from what we saw, he looked very good, and he seemed to be pretty fine. He said in the press conference, the pre-tournament press conference, that he's not 100% yet, but he's feeling very good and that he's pretty close. So don't think any of this will be at bay during the US Open, and that he'll be fully healthy for this big final, this final major of the year. So yeah. I still have Sinner as the slight favorite for the US Open, even after this tournament. I like Sinner, and then I think before the American hardcourt season began, before Cincinnati, I think Sinner was a pretty big favorite for the US Open, but I think that gap has closed. I still think he's the favorite for it, but I think Alcaraz is just behind him now, and then there's a pretty big gulf between those two. And then I'd probably say there's Djokovic, and then Shelton, Fritz, Draper, and Zverev in no particular order. I just think that that's how it is. Maybe I'd probably say Djokovic is third, Shelton fourth, but Fritz, Draper, Zverev, no particular order there. Pretty simple there. The next thing I want to talk about is Alcaraz's season thus far this year. Carlos has won 6 titles this year, which is a new career high for him. His previous high was 5 in 2023. Now, I think this is his best season ever, and I'm going to preface this, alright? Let's remember his year in full. It was a shaky start to the first part of this year on the hard courts. Quarterfinal loss to an ailing Djokovic at the Australian Open, which he should have won. We all know that. Wins Rotterdam, so he goes to Rotterdam after that, wins that tournament. That's a good win. Then goes to Doha, loses to Lehechka there in the quarters. Then goes to Indian Wells and loses to Draper, which wasn't a bad loss because Draper was on fire in Indian Wells, and he took out everybody along the way to win his very first Masters 1000 title. But then goes to Miami and loses to David Goffin there. And honestly, it's not the start at all that Alcaraz wants for the year. And it's not looking good for him. And he goes to the clay. And this is where his year changes. Because guess what, folks? Since the clay court season has began, he's played 7 tournaments. And he's made the final in all 7 of them. And he's won 5 of those 7 finals that he's played. His only losses have come to Holger Rune in the Barcelona final, which he actually wasn't 100% in, and then of course Sinner in the Wimbledon final. So what am I trying to get at here? Even with that first quarter that he had to the year, which was not great for him, with the way he's played since the clay court season, with all those accolades that he's had that I just read off to you, I think that this has been his best season. And to be honest, I'm not sure why it's not being talked about enough. Last year, he ended the season. He won 2 majors last year, right? So he's only won 1 this year, and he's won 2 majors. But he ended the season with only a total of 4 wins, and he was a lot more inconsistent last year. He ended last year with a record of 54 wins and 13 losses. Folks, he's already won 54 matches this year after Cincinnati, and he's only lost 6. So he has equaled the amount of wins that he's won from last year already in the summer hardcourt season this year. Now, I know that slams are much more important, and that's where it's at. That's what we look at for the season when we try to determine player of the year and all that. But I think even if Carlos doesn't win the US Open and still only wins 1 slam this year, and maybe Sinner takes the third at the US Open, I still think that this year is better for Carlos than last year. I think it's still his best career year so far, even though he didn't win 2 majors like he did last year. But that's just my personal take. I know people are going to disagree with that, but that's just my take on that. Now, if we try to look at Player of the Year is a little bit different. Because as of right now, I'm not really sure who Player of the Year is. Look, it's obviously between Sinner and Alcaraz. Those are the two guys. Those are who we'll be looking at the end of the year to determine it. And as of right now, you could make arguments for both for Player of the Year. But let's talk a little bit about the U.S. Open, because the number 1 ranking is going to be on the line in New York. It's going to be really interesting to see who comes away with it. Before the U.S. Open, Alcaraz will enter the live rankings, all right? So not the official rankings. He'll enter the live rankings as the U.S. Open starts as the world number 1 by 50 points, all right? So very minuscule, but he will lead by 50 points. Who's going to end number 1? It's going to be whoever goes further than the other in the tournament, all right? So if Sinner let's just say Sinner makes the quarters and Alcaraz loses in the round of 16, Sinner will be number 1. If Sinner loses in the round of 16 and Alcaraz makes the quarters, Alcaraz will be number 1. It's whoever goes further. And if they were to meet in the final for a 3rd consecutive major, whoever wins that final will go after this tournament as the world number 1. All right? Now, there is a world that we live in where Jannik Sinner could win the U.S. Open and win his 3rd major of the year and could still not end the year as world number 1 because he has a load of points to defend even after this tournament, primarily in Shanghai and the ATP Finals, because remember, he won both of those tournaments last year. But I don't think we've ever had a season before where a player has won 3 majors in a year and not ended that year as the world number 1. I don't think we've ever had a season like that. And look, one of the main reasons there's a possibility of that happening, there's actually 2 reasons. One of them is that the world number 2, Alcaraz, has been so good even outside of the slams this year. And number 2, it's obviously that 3-month suspension that Sinner had where he wasn't able to play. And so that's gonna be a big factor here of why he may not be able to end the year number 1, even if he does win the U.S. Open. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think this is just a really fun and enticing race going forward for the rest of the year to see who can win the U.S. Open, first of all, between whether if it's going to be Sinner or Alcaraz or if someone's going to step up and take a major from them. And then it'll be interesting to see who ends the tournament as number 1 and who goes on to end the year number 1, because I think Alcaraz is still the favorite to end the year number 1, even if he doesn't win here at the U.S. Open, because he just doesn't have as many points to defend as Jannik does at the end of the year, because he's got 1,500 at the ATP Finals, and then he's got 1,000 in Shanghai, Beijing Final as well, so he's got a pretty good amount of points to defend even after this tournament, so it'll be interesting to see how he does there. Alright, so we talked a little bit about the Cincinnati final. We talked about Alcaraz's season and him and Sinner going into the U.S. Open. Let's talk a little bit about the semifinal between Zverev and Alcaraz. Now, I was able to watch this match, but unfortunately, just like Sinner, Zverev was struggling with some sort of illness as well. Now, I mentioned that Sinner had a virus after the tournament, and it seemed like Zverev had the same virus maybe as well. In Cincinnati, remember, in Cincinnati, if you were following the tournament, there were a lot of players struggling with the heat and humidity that comes in Cincinnati in that hot August summer, and we were having players retire, we were having players pull out, we were having players faint because of and getting heat stroke, like Arthur Rinderknecht, so that was tough to watch. But anyways, going back to the semifinal between Zverev and Alcaraz, there's just not much we can go off of. Now, Zverev did complete this match, and he should get a lot of credit for doing so, because he did not look good at all, especially in those last 3, 4, even 5 games of the match, he was not looking great at all. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that after the first set, in the first game of the second set, Alcaraz was able to break after a long game, and I think he figured out that Zverev was struggling, and he wasn't 100%, and we've seen Alcaraz play some physically hampered players earlier in this year. The one against Djokovic in Australia comes to mind, where Novak injured his leg, wasn't 100%, and that played with Alcaraz in his mind, and he kind of let Djokovic back into the match, and Novak was able to take it from there because Alcaraz couldn't capitalize. And, I mean, you kind of knew Alcaraz was still going to win this match, but you didn't know how he was going to win it, and if he was going to let Zverev kind of back into the match like he did against Novak in Australia. But fortunately for him, it seemed like he had learned from that match, and he was able to get himself back together and win it pretty comfortably in the end. So, look, there was a few games there where he was kind of making all those errors and let Zverev back in, but it seems like he got himself together, which is good to see. And obviously, Zverev had nothing in the tank, and he was barely able to finish the match. And that's really all I got for Zverev and Alcaraz. So, yeah. I do think Zverev is looking better, though, after Wimbledon. Let's talk about Terence Ottmann. I want to talk about Ottmann next, because what a run from the young Frenchman. He goes from a qualifier at the start of the tournament to the semi-finals. I mean, he took out Caboli, Fonseca, Fritz, and Runa. That is a gauntlet that he went through to get to the semifinals. He was by far the story of the tournament. He goes from number 136 pre-tournament to number 67. He basically halves his tournament, or halves his rank. Sorry, I said halves his tournament. Halves his ranking from pre-Cincinnati to post-Cincinnati. So great for Ottmann. A little bit about him. He's about 6'2", and he's very lanky, but oh my goodness, does he have a dangerous game. He's got a very good serve and a huge forehand, and he's also a lefty, and he can hit 135, 140 on his serve. It looks like he can do it pretty easily. His serve, it reminds me a lot of Nick Kyrgios. It's very Kyrgios-like. He's kind of like a lefty Kyrgios when he serves. As soon as he tosses the ball for his serve, he hits it immediately. And what that does is it makes it extremely tough for the opponent to read where he's going, because as soon as he tosses it, he goes at it immediately, and the opponent has no time to really try and read or guess where he's going to serve it. So that's what makes it him such a difficult opponent. And I remember him at the Australian Open last year. He might have been a qualifier then as well. He was taking on Medvedev in the first round, and from then on, you could tell that this guy is extremely talented. He kind of had Medvedev on the ropes there. He won that opening set against Medvedev, but his body fell apart early in a fourth set, if I remember correctly, and he had to retire. But he was cramping, and he was actually playing Medvedev, a cramping Medvedev as well. Medvedev later admitted after that match that he was cramping as well, and he was thinking about retiring himself, but fortunately for Daniil, Ottmann was able to retire first. And remember, Medvedev went on to make the final of the tournament, almost winning it, having Jannik Sinner on the ropes there before Sinner went on to win his first major title. But yeah, look, great run for Ottmann. He showed them that he was a tough player, and it seems like he was finally able to put the pieces together here in Cincinnati. And he's only 23 years of age. So I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. And watch out for him in the future, because he is a dangerous player. Rublev Alcaraz in Cincinnati, a little bit about this. I wasn't able to see it, but from what I heard, and from what you could see, it was by far Alcaraz's biggest test en route to the title. From what I heard, it was a very error-strewn performance from Carlos, but he was able to get through it. as he usually does when he has those kind of air-filled performances. And a good showing for Rublev, though. He's looking better since Wimbledon, which is good for him. So he's looking happier on court, which is what we want to see from Rublev, because he's a great guy off the court. He's a very nice man. We all know that. So wishing the best for Andrei Rublev. The final match from Cincinnati, I guess I'll talk about, is the match between Shelton and Zverev, because I was able to see this one as well. And of course, this one was affected by illness and fatigue as well. I mean, there must have been some curse for me when I was watching this tournament, because like the 3 matches that I was able to see, they were all affected by something, and players were not 100%. So it is what it is, I guess. But anyways, in this match, this is where we first started to see some physical ailments for Zverev, where something was wrong. It was kind of towards the end of that first set, into the second set, where Zverev was not looking 100%. He was feeling dizzy. There was some sort of illness and virus that he had there. And Ben Shelton had just lost it physically completely. He was so tired from the previous week from winning Toronto, which we are going to talk about a little bit later. And then going to Cincinnati in like 2 days. I think he only had 2 days in between winning Canada and then playing his first match in Cincinnati, and he made the quarterfinals in Cincinnati. So it was 2 very good tournaments from Ben Shelton, but he absolutely lost it physically. So look, unfortunately, not much we can go off of this match as well. But Zverev did win this match 2-2. He was dominant in this match, and he's dominated this matchup thus far against Shelton. He's now 4-0 against Ben, and he looked really good in this match despite the illness. He was serving well, and he was hitting the forehand really well, which is what he worked on when he went to the Rafa Nadal Academy after Wimbledon, when he was working with Tony Nadal. That's what they were working on, the forehand, and being more aggressive behind it, because that's what eluded him in the past. And look, it's a great performance from Zverev. 2 semifinals in both Canada and Cincinnati. He should be happy about that. That's 2 good weeks from him, after what we saw at Wimbledon and before that, where he said he wasn't feeling great mentally, and he's looking better again. I think he's going to be healthy and raring to go for the U.S. Open. He seems to be fine. In fact, he did play the U.S. Open mixed doubles. And I guess speaking of the mixed doubles, I guess we'll talk a little bit about it, because we were pumping it up here on the show earlier when the lineup came out a couple months ago. We were talking about that, so we'll talk about that as well. Look, Arani and Vavasori, the defending champions from last year, they win it once again. They were the really only actual doubles pairing in the field, and they were able to win it. So great for them. I mean, you could tell throughout the tournament, throughout all 4 matches that they played, you could tell that they had a chip on their shoulder, and that they were playing for something extra than all the other singles players that were in the field. They were playing for all the doubles teams out there who weren't given an opportunity to play it. So they had a lot on their shoulders, and they handled the pressure extremely well. And look, I think it was a good competition overall for those who were able to play it, and for the fans that were able to watch it. A lot of fans showed up for it. So I think it was a win-win, honestly, for the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open broke a record for the most fans to enter ever during the first week. During the fan week is what the U.S. Open likes to call their opening week, which is when the qualies take place. So look, I enjoyed watching some of the mixed doubles. I wasn't able to watch a lot of it, but I was able to watch one match, really, which was the semifinal between Draper and Pegula and Swiatek and Ruud. I was able to watch that, which is probably the match of the tournament. It was probably the best one so far. So that was a great match to watch. But yeah, I think the U.S. Open mixed doubles, honestly, a win-win. It was a great tournament to watch, and congrats to Arani and Vavasori for defending their title at the U.S. Open. Okay, and we can finally get to the Toronto final, which I know you all have been waiting for 2 weeks for me to get to the Toronto final between Khachanov and Shelton. It's actually been more than 2 weeks. And yes, I mentioned it earlier that Shelton won Canada. Ben Shelton won Canada in the final against Karen Khachanov in a 3rd set tiebreak. He won 6-7, 6-4, 7-6. Incredible performance from Ben all week. And look, in the final, he was not at his best, but he did find a way. And that's what great players do. Great players are able to find a way even when they are not playing their best. And we saw that from Ben in Canada. Khachanov for the first part of the match was winning the longer rallies. He was the steadier of the two. He was more consistent. But Shelton was able to change that as the match went on. He was more consistent. He was being deadlier behind his serve. He was getting more returns back in play. Ben was not returning as well in the beginning stages of the match. But as the match wore on, he started returning better. He started winning the longer exchanges better. Look, I think we're all going to remember the return winner that he hit on the penultimate point of the match when Khachanov was serving down 5-2 in the breaker. And Ben just absolutely obliterated the return down the line for a winner. And that was the shot that brought up the championship points. And Ben was able to get it done on his very first championship point. Great. So look, great for Shelton. He is now a Masters 1000 champion, his very first big title here. And look, I think we all knew it was coming for Ben, because out of all the American players, we talk, especially here in America, where I am, the talk is always, who is going to be the first American man to win a major, to break the drought, which has been now 22 years since Andy Roddick won the U.S. Open in 2003. So we're going to hit the 22-year anniversary right here as the U.S. Open comes up. But I think Shelton is the American hope. Out of all the American guys, he's the one who's probably got the game to win it. So he seems like he's coming now. He is going to be at a new career high of number 6 as well. So we've got 2 Americans now in the top 6, which we probably haven't seen for a while. So great for American tennis. And Ben's going to be in the mix here at the U.S. Open. Watch out for him. I didn't mention his name earlier when I was talking about the guys who've got an outside chance here at the U.S. Open. Other than Sinner and Alcaraz, I like him probably 4th behind Djokovic. Djokovic just gets to be third just based off his pedigree alone and what he's done in majors in the past. But Shelton is not too far behind Novak. I think he's right behind him, actually. So watch out for Ben. He's gonna be a real factor here at the U.S. Open. And that's pretty much all I've got here. That is basically a summary of what happened in the last 2 weeks. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, a lot can happen in 2 weeks. That's a lot that we just went through, and that is the reality of these newer schedules with these new 2-week Masters 1000s. And now that the U.S. Open is essentially 3 weeks with Fan Week and now the new mixed doubles tournament that we saw this year. So, look, a lot happened, but let's get to the draw preview for the U.S. Open. And you know how it works. You'll see my picks displayed on the screen. I'll be on the side going through them, and we'll go through every round, every match, every projected match from me. And yes, we will crown a winner ultimately. So without further ado, let's get to the draw preview for the U.S. Open. Okay, everyone, I have the draw right here in front of me, and you can see it on your screens as well. Now, what I will say is some of these first round matches and some of these earlier round matches, I will be picking them, going through the picks pretty quickly just for time's sake so that we don't go too long here. So I'll just preface that. But let's get into this draw. And it looks like I accidentally picked Sinner to win his first round match, but that's obviously not an accident because I was going to pick him anyway. So anyway, I've got Sinner defeating Capriva. I'm going to go with Popperin to take out Rusevori. I'll take the wild card Royer over Boo. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to actually take Boo. Boo's been playing well. He took out Tsitsipas and Winston-Salem. I will take Fucsovics to take out Shapovalov. Fucsovics just won his first, or not his first title, his first hard court title in Winston-Salem against, who was it? Botic van de Zandschulp. Yeah, that's who he took out in the final. He won that. So he's high on confidence right now is Marton Fucsovics. And Shapovalov can be very up and down. We know that. So I like Fucsovics here against Shapo. We got Bublik taking on Cilic. All right. 23 seed Bublik. Now, after Wimbledon, remember, Bublik lost first round Wimbledon. He won two clay court titles in a row, two clay 250s, which 3 years ago, I would have never, ever expected to say that. Bublik won two clay court 250. I would have never expected to say that. But he has not played since then. He has not played a hard court match since March in Miami. So this is going to be interesting against Marin Cilic because we saw what Cilic did at Wimbledon. Very impressive. And Cilic is a real threat. And you just don't know about Bublik. I mean, it's whatever Bublik's feeling on the day, right? I know the past few months, it's like Bublik's felt good every day because he's been winning so much. But this is a tough one against Cilic, and Bublik decided to skip Canada and Cincinnati because he wanted to have a break after the clay court, the post clay in Wimbledon, post Wimbledon, post Wimbledon clay. So I'm actually gonna take Cilic to take out Bublik. I like Cilic. Some of these other first round matches, I'm gonna take Sonego over Skulke. I'm gonna take Borges over Holt. I'll take Tommy Paul against Elmer Mahler. That's a rematch from the first round of Roland Garros. This is a huge first round match, though. Lorenzo Musetti, the 10th seed, will take on Giovanni Mpesci Barriga. This guy is obviously a big server from France, and he's found some form again. He was struggling a bit, but he went to Winston-Salem, made the semifinals there, so he's back in form. And this is a tricky, tricky first round match for Lorenzo Musetti because no one, absolutely no one, wants to see GMP in the first round of a major. They all want him to be seeded, but unfortunately for Lorenzo, he is unseeded and he will have to take him on in the very first round. Lorenzo in the past has played Pericard pretty well. He's played big servers, honestly, pretty well. Musetti did play Opelka in the first round here last year, and he handled him pretty well. So Musetti's pretty good at returning these big servers. He's got a very good block return, especially with that one hander, and he can get that slice low on some of these big guys. And I like Musetti here, but he hasn't been in form. That's the issue. So gets injured at Roland Garros in that semifinal with Carlos Alcaraz, and then doesn't play a grass court tune-up before Wimbledon, goes to Wimbledon, loses first round to Nicolas Basilashvili, and he struggled on the hard courts after that since then. He hasn't really won many matches, so this is going to be interesting to see. It makes the prediction for me really tough. So because of that, after all that being said, I'm still going to pick Musetti, but because of how well he's played against big servers, but like this is a real pickup here. Pericard could win this too. I'm gonna lean Lorenzo though. I'm gonna take Alice over Goffin. Goffin's been struggling recently. Not sure what's up with him. I'm gonna take Jensen Brooksby over Vukic. I'm gonna take Caboli over the qualifier Passaro. I'm gonna take Diallo to take out Jumher. I'm gonna take Munar against Faria. I'm going to take Bergs against Sang. I'm going to take Draper against Gomez. Nice to see Jack Draper back. We haven't seen him since Wimbledon. He's been dealing with an arm injury, but he looked good in the mixed doubles at the US Open. I'm going to take Sasha Zverev against Tabilo. I'm going to take RBA against Jacob Fernley. I'm going to take Monfils against Safulin. I'm going to take Felix Auger-Aliassime against Billy Harris. I'll take Humbert against Walton. I'll take Kovacevic against Coleman Wong. I'm going to take the wildcard Tristan Boyer against lucky loser James Duckworth. And then I'll take Rublev, the 15th seed here, seated a little bit lower than we're usually seeing him, against Dino Prismic. All right, this is an interesting one. We've got Karen Khachanov, number 9 seed. He takes on Nishesh Basavaredi, the wild card from Indiana. Khachanov has just been too good right now. I would like to pick Basov already. You guys know he's kind of, I mentioned, I think in the Cincinnati preview that he's kind of my guy. But I'm going to have to take Karen here. He's been playing extremely well. Canada final. So, and then the Wimbledon quarters. That's the other big result that he had. I like him here. He's back in the top 10 as well. I'm going to take Mychek against Delian to set up a rematch of the fourth round of Wimbledon between Khachanov and Mychek, this time in the second round here. I'm going to take the qualifier Reedy against Martinez, and I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to take Arnaldi against Cerundolo. We have not seen Fran play since Toronto when he was playing Sasha Zverev, and I think it was an abdominal injury that he had, and he had to retire. So we haven't seen him since. I think it was just precautionary to pull out from Toronto, but Arnaldi's tough in the first round. I'm going to take Mateo. All right, we got Tsitsipas 26 seed against Mueller. Tsitsipas really struggling right now. He's looking for answers. We talked about how he split from Goran and now he's back with his father. Interested to see how that's going to be working moving forward. Obviously, his dad was the guy who got him to the very top a few years ago, but he struggled since. And this is not an easy first round match against Alexander Mueller. Mueller is one of the higher ranked unseeded guys, and he can cause some trouble. I am going to take Tsitsipas though because I do know that Mueller can be a little bit more defensive player. So I think Tsitsipas will have the chance to take it to Mueller. Granted, he doesn't make too many errors. But yeah, look, I could see this being an upset. Tsitsipas has never really played well at the U.S. Open before. He's never made the round of 16, which is shocking for a player of Steph's caliber, especially who he had been in the previous years when he was a top 10 player. Still wasn't able to make it to the round of 16. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do right now. I'll take Hamad Medjedovic against Altmaier. I'll take Gaston against Machizuki. I'll take Demon Nar against O'Connell. All right, so now we're in the bottom half here. Djokovic and Lerner Tiantian's not easy, but I look Novak. I like Novak here. I mean, there's not much to say honestly. I'll take Novak. Zvaida against Piros. I'm gonna take Zvaida. I'm gonna take. Ooh, this is a very good first round match. Nori and Korda. Korda obviously got injured during the French Open. He played Francis Tiafoe. It was pretty clear in that match that he wasn't 100%. So I think it was a shin. He had a shin problem, Korda, and he had to sit out of Wimbledon, which was unfortunate for him. So he's, as you can see here, he's actually unseeded. He's unseeded at a major for the first time since 2022. I think it's been a really long time for him. And the reason being so is because last year he won Washington and then he made the semifinals in Canada and he had to drop all those points because he wasn't able to defend those at all. So his ranking dropped from about 20 in the world to about 70 or 80. But he looked good in Winston-Salem last week. That's where he made his comeback. He made the semifinals there. Unfortunately, had to pull out ahead of his semifinal against Martin Fucsovics due to illness. Now, I believe that is just precautionary, just for his U.S. Open chances, because of course he doesn't want to miss out on another major, as he already has this year at Wimbledon. So the way Korda looked, Nori hasn't been great recently. I'm going to take Korda against Nori. And then I'll take Mickelson, the 28th seed, against Komasanya. All right, we got Francis Tiafoe here against Nishioka. Tiafoe always plays better in New York. I'm gonna take. Okay, this is very interesting. Dam Jr. and Darwin Blanche, two young guys. One's a quali, one's a wild card. Dam Jr. Made a run in Miami last year in 2024. He was good there. Blanche played Rafa in the first round of Madrid last year. But Blanche has been good. I think he's been playing challengers recently. Blanche. He's a good young lefty. Dam Jr. is also a good young lefty. Dam Jr.'s, I think he's a big server. I think he's about 6'8", so he's a big guy. This is an interesting one. I'm gonna take Dam Jr. because he's the quality and he's got some matches under his belt. But this is a really good first round. Dam Jr. and Blanche. I'm gonna take the quality Struff against McDonald, and okay, we got Van de Zandschulp taking on Holger Rune. Now, obviously, Van de Zandschulp, the man who took out Carlos Alcaraz last year at the U.S. Open in a massive upset. It was the upset of the year last year, and now Botic takes on Holger Rune, and Holger Rune we know can be very up and down. Look, was it a good week for him in Cincinnati last week, making the quarterfinals? I mean, he went out to Atman, who was obviously on fire, but that's a match Runa should win. I know Atman was having a week, but if Runa, like he said in the past, wants to get on Sinner and Alcaraz's level, he needs to take out guys like Atman. He needs to be the guy who takes him out. Sinner was the one who took out Atman in Cincinnati. So if Runa wants to get on his level, he's going to need to learn how to take some of these guys out, even when he's not having his best day. So look, this is a tough one. Bodic was good in Winston-Salem. He made the semifinals, or excuse me, the final. He made the final. This is another pick'em that we're seeing. It's giving me five set vibes, that's for sure. And I feel like it's gonna be a five setter. And Runa has been pretty good in five setters. He has been pretty clutch in those situations. I'm gonna back Runa here, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised whoever wins that one. And we got another pick 'em here with Jakub Menchik, the Miami Open champion, taking on Nicholas Jarry. Jarry was resurgent at Wimbledon this year, making it all the way through to the fourth round, ultimately going out to Cam Norrie there. And this is going to be a big serving, big hitting clash. They both serve big. Jarry hits a better forehand, Menchik hits a better backhand. And this could be an upset with the way Menchik has been playing recently because he has not really been in great form at all. And he was ill. He was one of those guys that was ill in Cincinnati last week. He retired against Nardi in the third round, down a set and a break. So this is another pick 'em here where I'm just gonna have to choose a guy, and I think I'm gonna lean Menchik, which is kind of head over heart in my opinion, because I'm a big fan of Menchik. And look, I love Jari, he's great, but Menchik, I like Menchik here. All right, I'm gonna take Marajan against Blanchet. I'm gonna take Fonseca against Kecmanovic. That's a fun first round. That could be a good five setter. I'm gonna take Tomas Mahach against Nardi. That's another one that could be an upset. I'm gonna back Mahach though. Moving on. All right, we got Nakashima against DeYoung. I'll take Brandon. I'll take Quinn against Kim. Quinn against Kim. I'll take Harris against Baez. I'll take Fritz against Nava. Um, Ben Shelton against Boos. I'll take Carreño Busta against Lamas Ruiz. I'll take Mute against Thompson. Manarino Greek Sport is a very fascinating first round match. Greek Sport was really, really good in his first week back from injury on the grass, winning a title in Mallorca, but then lost first round Wimbledon to Brooksby. Now he's got Manarino here. And Manarino's been pretty good recently. Manarino played Sinner pretty close in Cincinnati, and he took out Tommy Paul. So Manarino's in better form. I'm picking Manarino. I just convinced myself to pick Manarino. Lehechka Chorch. Chorch has been playing a lot of challengers this year, but he seems to be playing better as of late. However, I like Lehechka here. I'm going to take Echeverry against Ugo Carabelli. I'll take Colignon against Galan. I'll take Rude against Offner. All right, man. There's so many of these pick'em first rounders that I hate. This probably wasn't a pick'em a few months ago, but with the way Medvedev has been playing, this is rough. This is a rematch from the first round of Wimbledon where Bonzi took out Medvedev in 4 sets. And I could see this again, honestly. I could see Bonzi taking out Medvedev. Medvedev is back on hard courts, which is his preferred surface. He would like that. He would like this matchup more on a hard court than he did at Wimbledon. I just don't know where he is right now, where he is in his where his head is at. There was a practice at the U.S. Open that he had a few days ago where he was throwing his racket all over the place. So he wasn't happy there. His coach walked off the court. He's really struggling right now. He needs some answers. And this is not the first round match that he wanted to see against the guy who took him out at Wimbledon. I'm going to take him against Bonzi. But again, this is just one of those where I wouldn't be surprised if Bonzi wins. I just like Medvedev because he's back on hard court, and I think he'd like this matchup more on hard court rather than on grass. Even though we haven't really seen anything from him on the hard court, so I keep contradicting myself. I'm just gonna take Daniil. I'm gonna take Navone against Giron. I think they played in Winston-Salem and Navone won, so just beat Giron. I'm gonna take Rinder Kanesh against Karbaiz Baena. I'll take David Fekina against Shevchenko. David Fekina has been really good on the hard court summer. He's retired a few times. I think he might have been another one of these guys that had the illness, or that virus that was going around in Cincinnati. And then we made it to the bottom part of this draw. I'm gonna take Hijikata against Dardiri. Dardiri was a bit like Bublik this year. He won two clay titles in 2 weeks, just like Bublik, and then he actually injured his ankle on match point in the second was it Umag he won, and then he injured his ankle on championship point. Uh and then he had to pull out the next week of Canada. And then in Cincinnati, he played a set against Comasanya and then had to retire. So I don't think Dardiri is 100%, but he has found himself a seed here at the US Open. So very impressive from Dardiri, who is more of a clay court guy. But I like Hijikata here against Dardiri because I haven't really seen anything from him since the clay. So a bit like Bublik. Dostanic takes on Spiziri. Now, Dostanic is from Irvine, a very talented player. And I have a friend who is Dostanic's cousin. So my friend is Dostanic's cousin. Shout out to you, Christian, if you're watching this. Christian's cousin, Stefan Dostanic. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, but anyway, I'm gonna take him against Spiziri because of that. But this is two American wildcards, two college guys. And I'm gonna take Dostanic though because of my friend. Bellucci Shang. Shang coming back from injury. I'll take Bellucci. And then Opelka Alcaraz. This is a nightmare first round for Carlos Alcaraz. This is we talked about not wanting to see Perry card in the first round of these majors. You don't want to see Opelka either. And this is going to be dangerous for Carlos Alcaraz. Now, this is going to be a night match on Monday, where they'll play. Look, Opelka's going to have the night crowd of Arthur Ashe behind him, the New York crowd against on Opelka's side against Carlos, and we know Carlos can make a lot of errors sometimes in these early rounds and give sets away. We saw it at Wimbledon when he went to 5 sets against Fabio Fognini, and now he's got Opelka here who's dangerous. And we've never seen Alcaraz play Opelka before, so this is going to be a really fun match. I really think it's going to be 5 sets. I honestly think it will be 5 sets. I'm going to pick Alcaraz in five against Opelka. But look, this could be straight sets. It could be one break each for Alcaraz in a set. It could be a 4-4-4. It also could be 5 sets because we know Alcaraz can be vulnerable in early rounds. He can give sets away. He can get error strewn in these kind of situations. And this is going to be a tough environment for him. He's not going to have the crowd support. And it could get interesting. I think it's going to go 5. But I'm going to pick Alcaraz because he always finds himself to get out of these matches. And we know his 5-set record is fantastic. He's 14-1 in those situations. So I like Carlos to come through here. All right, let's move on now to the second round. Sinner Popperin. I'll take Sinner. That's not easy though. Popperin is one of the higher ranked unseeded guys. But Sinner, unlike Alcaraz, is very efficient in early rounds. I'm gonna take Fucsovics against Boo. I'll take. This is interesting. Cilic Sonego. Sonego's been good in slams this year. Quarterfinalist at the Australian Open, and then ran into Shelton in the first round of the French. Shelton in the fourth round of Wimbledon, and then it was Shelton in the quarters. Remember, Shelton and Sonego played the first 3 slams of the year. There was a whole thing for that. So Sonego's been good in slams this year. I'll take him. I'll take Paul against Borges. We'll see how Paul's ankle injury is. He did lose to Manarino in Cincinnati last week. Musetti against Alice. Alice is another big server. He's not easy, but I think if Musetti can get through Pericard, he can get through Alice. Kaboli Brooksby. I like Kaboli against Brooksby. Brooksby, a great story, by the way. He came out in December and he said he was autistic. So he's a great story. I met him at Indian Wells earlier this year. Uh, we got Diallo against Munar. I'm gonna pick Diallo. I'll take Draper against Bergs, and then I'll take Zverev against RBA. Monfils Ojea Yassim. This is a fun second round match. I'm gonna back Monfils. I like Monfils against FAA. We know FAA, just like his Canadian counterpart Denis Shapovalov, can be very inconsistent. They can be up and down. FAA, he was good in Cincinnati. He made the quarterfinals, but it was a horrendous performance against Yannick Sinner in the quarterfinals. So yeah, I'm gonna take Gale because Monfils, we know, and look again, he's gonna be playing in New York with the crowd, and Monfils with the crowd can get really hyped, and he's fun to watch in those kind of situations. And I'm gonna take Gale there. And then I'll take another Frenchman here, Humbert against Kovacevic. I'll take Rublev against Boyer. I'll take Khachanov against Mychek. I'll take Arnaldi, yep, against Riady. Tsitsipas Medvedev rematch from Doha, where Medvedev injured his leg and was absolutely hobbling through that last part of the match, and Medvedev somehow beat him in a third set tiebreak. And I know Tsitsipas was furious about that. He's going to be wanting revenge here, but he's just not playing well enough for me to honestly see him beating Medvedev right now. So I'm actually picking Medvedev to beat Tsitsipas, and then I'll take Diminar against Gaston. I'll take Novak Djokovic against Zach Schweida. Korda Mickelson. This is a fun second round match. I don't know. This is interesting. Korda, look, the illness at the or in Winston-Salem that he had, I don't know how much a factor that could be. Mickelson has been pretty consistent as of late. He did make the quarterfinals in Canada and then lost to Runa in Cincinnati. So he has been pretty good. And I'll back him against Korda because I don't know how. I know I picked Korda to get through the first round, but I'm not sure about because it's such a pick a match, Korda Mickelson. I'm gonna pick Mickelson. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, honestly, because spoil alert, I think Novak's gonna beat whoever he plays in the third round. So yeah, I'll take Mickelson. I'll take Francis Tiafoe against Dam Jr. I'll take Runa against Struff. That's another tough one for Runa though. So he's got a gauntlet of a draw. I'll take Menchik against Marajan. That's not easy again for Menchik. Man, these tennis is the depth of tennis right now is really insane. I mean, you have so many great first round matches, second round matches where it's just a tough draw for a lot of these guys if they want to go on and I mean, not even to win the title, but like to go deep, to make a third round, to make a fourth round, you have to beat these spectacular players. And we've got another fantastic match here between Joao Fonseca and Thomas Mahach. And I'm going to take Fonseca. Mahach recently has not been great. I mean, his health has been questionable. He hasn't been retiring as much as he did of late. So, look, this is Fonseca's been good in slams this year. He's either made the third round or he's beaten a top 10 seed at a major this year. That's the stat for Fonseca. I like Fonseca against Mahach to make the third round and to set up a blockbuster with Yakum Menchik. What a match that'll be if we get it. I'll take Brandon Nakashima against Ethan Quinn, and I'll take Fritz against Harris. I'll take Ben Shelton against Carreño Busta. Fun second round match here between Mute and Manarino. I'll take Mute. Lehechka, I'll take against Echeverry. Rude against Collignon. And then I'll take Medvedev. If he gets through Bonzi, he should beat Navone on a hard court. Rinderknecht David Fekina is interesting. Rinderknecht has been good this year. He's been a different man since he got married. David Fekina has just been too good this year, though. I like David Fekina to get through. Hijikata Dostanic. I'm going to do this for you again, Christian. Dostanic into the third round. And then Alcaraz against Bellucci. Uh, all right, let's move on to the third round. Okay, we got Sinner against Fucsovics. I'll take Sinner. Sonego Paul. If Paul's not 100%, Sonego could take advantage. I'll back Tommy though. All Italian affair between Musetti Caboli. I will back Caboli to take up Musetti. I'm not sure about Musetti honestly because I'm so unsure about his first round match against Pesci Pericard. I just don't trust picking him through to the fourth round. Even if he does get through to the third round and play Caboli, I probably would still like Caboli because Caboli's been better recently than Musetti. So yeah, it'd be a fun match, definitely if these two Italians go against each other, flamboyant Italians. So I'll take Flavio and then I'll take Draper against Diallo. Diallo not an easy third round match for Draper. Diallo's been good recently. But I gotta take Draper. Zverev against Monfils. This could be fun, but I like Zverev. I like Rublev against Umber. I like Khachanov against Arnaldi. I like Dimonor against Medjedovic. I'll take Novak against Mikkelsen. All right, we've got a blockbuster. Tiafo Runa. Now this is a rematch from Cincinnati. They played Runa up 6-4-3-1, and Tiafo having to retire due to a hip injury. I think Tiafoe's fine. He's been practicing at the U.S. Open. He looks to be healthy again. So I think the Cincinnati retirement was just precautionary. Interesting match here against Runa. We know Big Foe is different in New York. There's there's three Tiafos during the year that I have. There's Tiafo outside of America, then there's Tiafo in America, and then there's Tiafo in New York. And look, Tiafo in America can be pretty abysmal. I'm sorry, Tiafo outside of America can be pretty abysmal. Tiafo in America is good, and Tiafo in New York is another level. He's just outstanding when he goes to New York, and I guess I'm gonna have to back him here against Holger Rune because remember Rune has that first round match just like Musetti. Rune's got Van de Zandschulp in the first round, and that could be an upset. And I like Tiafoe's draw a little bit more, which is why I'm gonna back him against Rune. But that could be interesting. Menchik against Fonseca. This is interesting. Menchik Fonseca. We all want to see it. Two teenagers. So Fonseca just turned 19. Menchik turns 20 on the 1st of September. So Menchik might. So this is a third round. So 25th, 24th, 27th, 29th. I think if they play this, I think Menchik will still be 19 when they play this match, if it were to happen. So it would be two teenagers. Man, do I remember Menchik has Jari in the first round? Give me Joao Fonseca to make his very first fourth round of a Grand Slam. Give me Joao Fonseca. Look, I know he hasn't been great recently, Fonseca, but neither has Menchik, and Menchik has a tougher draw than Fonseca does to get to this stage. So I'm backing Joao, but I hope we get this matchup. This is a fantastic third round match because a lot of people, like including myself, think that these two guys are kind of the two guys in the next generation behind Sinner and Alcaraz. I don't know if they're in the next generation or if they're at the end of the Sinner and Alcaraz generation. But I think you all know what I mean by that. And then All American Affair Nakashima Fritz. Nakashima's great at beating guys he's supposed to beat, not so much beating guys that he's not better than. And Taylor, I like him against Nakashima. Taylor's got finals points to defend in New York, so I don't know how much of a factor that'll be in his head. I think he'll be fine. Um, okay. Last section here. Shelton against Mute. I'm gonna pick Shelton. Lehechka Rude. This is a tough one right here. Lehechka Rude. Yiji made what did he do in Cincinnati? So he made the round of 16 in Cincinnati, lost to Shelton, who he could play if he beats Rude. Rude in Cincinnati lost first round to Rinder Kanesh. Now he's been coming back from injury. Remember, he had the injury at Roland Garros, sat out of Wimbledon. He's been okay. I mean, he made the fourth round in Canada, lost to Khachanov, who ended up making the final, and then Cincinnati. It's I don't know. I feel like I'm talking a lot here. I'm picking. I know I knew I was gonna pick Lehechka either way. Lehechka is just a big hitter, and that can be tough for Rude on these speedy New York U.S. Open courts. So I'm gonna pick Lehechka here against Rude. Medvedev, Davidovich Fekina. I don't know if we're even gonna get this matchup because Medvedev has been so horrendous recently. I mean, sorry to put it that way. I guess even if you're a Medvedev fan, but I mean he has been horrendous recently. If you look at his record, Davidovich Fekina is not easy. He's had a very good summer, and I like him here against Daniil. This is another one like a Lehechka Rude where I knew I was going to pick Lehechka. I knew I was going to pick David Fekina. Either way, I trust him more right now than I do Medvedev. So I'm going to pick David Fekina to get through Daniil. I what I'm wondering though, why I'm kind of pausing so much right now is because if we do get to this matchup, Medvedev may like this matchup more than Davidovich Fekina. So that's what I'm wondering, but I trust ADF more, which is why I'm going to back him. And then I'm sorry, Christian. I can't do this again. I'm sorry. I have to go Carlos here against Dostanic, but this would be a very good run from the wild card if he were to make it through. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Carlos though to get through to the round of 16. All right, moving on to the fourth round now. We got Sinner against Tommy Paul. I like Sinner to make it through to the quarters. Kaboli Draper, that's interesting. If Kaboli's on, he could take out Draper. A Draper who is not yet match tough. But I'm gonna back Jack here against Kaboli because Draper has moved up to another level this year. I know he hasn't played since Wimbledon, but I just like his mentality. I like the way he carries himself on and off the court. He's a great guy. So I like him to get through Kaboli. Zverev Rublev is another fun match that we could get pretty early on here, and it could be interesting. Rublev could push Zverev, but like I mentioned earlier, I like the way Zverev's looked post Wimbledon, and I like him here against Rublev. Khachanov de Minaur. It doesn't get closer than this, right? Nine versus in a round this early, it can't get closer than this, right? One ranking spot apart. 9 versus 8. Both of these guys, very similar players. Khachanov has a better serve. He's taller. He's 6'6" to de Minaur 6 feet, but he does have a better serve. All right, I just said that Khachanov has a better serve, but they're similar game styles. They both kind of grind from the baseline. That's what they do best. de Minaur more so has to, but Khachanov has been playing better recently. de Minaur won DC. Khachanov then made the final in Toronto. So both of these guys had very good starts here to the North American hardcourt season, but I like Khachanov a little bit more right now than I do de Minaur, so I'm going to pick him. Djokovic Tiafo. I don't know how much Tiafo will be able to harness the energy of the New York crowd to bolster himself into another quarterfinal in New York. Tiafo, the last 3 years, has made quarterfinals or better at the US Open. That's in jeopardy here because he's got Djokovic in a round of 16. I I think Djokovic is too He's too steady for Tiafo. And if he's healthy, Novak, he should probably win this in 4 sets. I would assume Novak here against Tiafo. Tiafo's gonna have to do something really special here. I'm high on Novak in this tournament. I'm just gonna say it from right now. I really like his chances here in New York. He hasn't played since Wimbledon, obviously, but it's it's pretty clear that he's prioritizing the majors, and he said it in his press conference. The majors are where it's at. And for me, it kind of seems like he might just play the majors from now on. He might not play any other tournament pre-major. He might just go to the majors. I don't. We might not see him again until Australia next year. There's a pretty good chance we won't. And he's really gonna be on it here at the U.S. Open, and he's gonna want to. He wants number 25. I mean, he's supposed to be wearing an all black outfit as well. Darth Novak. We saw Darth Federer and we saw Darth Rafa earlier in the years here, and now we're going to see Darth Novak this year. He's on a mission, everybody, and I like him here against Tiafo. I'll take Fritz against Fonseca. Would be a great to see Fonseca make it through this far, but I don't know how much more he can offer. Fritz is going to be a tough matchup for him. I like Fritz. Not much more to say there. I'll take Shelton against Lehechka. They just played in Cincinnati. Comfortable win for Shelton, and it should be a comfortable win here again for him. And then I'll take Alcaraz against Davidovich Fekina. I am interested to see that match, though. I don't think Davidovich Fekina will be interesting. I'm just going to say ADF from now on because that's easier. I don't think ADF will be able to cause much trouble. I do think ADF will be able to cause some trouble here for Carlos. Don't think it'll be enough though. And I like Carlos here. We know Carlos is good in best of 5. To the quarterfinals now. Looks like almost, I almost have all top 8 seeds through the quarters. Only guy is Khachanov, and Khachanov is 9. So shows you how boring I am. I think I said that last time for Cincinnati when I had all top 4 semifinalists. We're not gonna get that this time. I promise. Spoiler alert: we're not getting all top 4 seeds. I'm gonna take Sinner against Draper. Zverev Khachanov. We saw that in Canada and Cincinnati. Khachanov won in a 3rd set tiebreak in Canada. Zverev got the retirement win in Cincinnati, 7-5, 3-0 there. I like Zverev here against Khachanov. I don't know. I don't have much more to say. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Khachanov won, but Zverev's looking better. That's what I'll say. Zverev's looking better. Djokovic against Fritz. I'm picking Novak. Oh, sorry. I'm picking Novak against Fritz. The head-to-head for Taylor has been a disaster against Djokovic. If you aren't familiar, Novak is 10-0 against Taylor Fritz. So Taylor mentally, I don't know how he beats Djokovic. Excuse me. I just don't know how Taylor does it. Honestly, it's a big mental block for him. And I mentioned Novak's motivations and everything when in the previous round. So yeah, I mean, I like Novak here against Fritz, and Fritz has those finals points to defend. So, well, I mean, his ranking is probably going to drop a little bit, but I like Novak here. Shelton Alcaraz, I think everyone wants to see this matchup. We saw it at Roland Garros, and Ben was able to push Alcaraz all the way to the, what was it, to 4 sets. He was able to push him all the way to 4 sets, and that was really impressive to see that from Shelton on a clay court, because that's just something really unexpected from Ben to push Alcaraz that much on clay. I am one of the reasons why Shelton can be good on clay, though. He does get more time to run around his backhand, so that's probably a big factor. But he's been playing really well recently. Has Ben obviously won Canada and was good in Cincinnati. this is oof. I'm trying to think about when this match would be played, right? This Shelton Alcaraz is a night match, right? Djokovic Fritz, that's a really good match too. Like that's like you've got American against the greatest of all time, but like we know it's not really a great matchup. Like the true hardcore fans know Djokovic Fritz isn't really a great matchup. But for an American crowd, I mean, you would want to see Shelton Alcaraz at night. If you bought a ticket for night, Shelton Alcaraz is the blockbuster night match. Like it's two flamboyant shot makers going at it. Anyways, back to who will win this match. I gotta back Alcaraz against Shelton. Again, Alcaraz in best of five is just more proven than Shelton is. But yeah, I mean, I want to see this matchup because I do think Shelton right now, with the way he's playing, he does have the ability to take out Carlos Alcaraz here in New York. But I'm gonna back Carlos, and with that, we'll make it through to the semifinals. I'm gonna take Sinner against Zverev. I'm really interested to see what Zverev learned from the Australian Open final when it was a pretty one-sided final. It was 3-6 and 3 for Sinner. But some would argue that the scoreline wasn't doesn't suggest as close as the match maybe could have been. Um, but I am interested in seeing what Zverev learned from that match at the Australian Open because I mean the way he was after that match, we all saw it. He looked super dejected, and that final kind of ruined a part of his season where he didn't look himself. And Sinner Zverev, the head to head is interesting. It's 4-3 Zverev, but it's two. I think it's 2-0 Sinner since the start of 2024. So they've only played twice since the start of 24, but Cincinnati last year was very tight, third set tiebreak in favor of Sinner. But AO kind of leaves an impression in your mind, doesn't it? And I just don't know right now if Zverev can take out Sinner. But yeah, that'll be an interesting match. And then this would be a blockbuster, wouldn't it? I think everyone wants this semifinal, right? I think you would rather see Djokovic play Alcaraz than Fritz play Alcaraz. This would be Jokeraz episode 9, I believe. Because it's episode 9 of Jokeraz. I'm gonna this is a real tough prediction. I think it's a lot tougher than Alcaraz just wins because he's been playing better recently. Um okay, so we saw this in Australia. We were alluding to this match earlier for different reasons when they played in Australia, and Novak won in 4 sets. Now Alcaraz won the first set, and then Novak, somewhere in that first set, injured his leg and took a medical timeout after the first set. Came back and was hampered movement wise in the second set. Somehow found a way to win that second set and started moving a little bit better and was able to take the match. And Carlos Alcaraz was he would have been furious with himself for letting Djokovic back into this match because ultimately that was the reason for why Alcaraz lost that match because he let Novak back in by making errors, not adjusting tactically. So that was on Alcaraz. And I'm very curious to see if we do get this matchup, what Alcaraz will change tactically, what he has learned from that Australian Open matchup. And look, I think it's worth mentioning here that Alcaraz has never beaten Novak on a hard court. Novak's won all their meetings on hard court. Now, of course, there was that heartbreaker in Cincinnati a couple of years ago where Alcaraz had championship points. But other than that, Novak's wins against Alcaraz have been pretty straightforward, you could say. So this will be interesting to see. That's for sure. we love this matchup. We haven't seen it much this year. The past couple years, right? Or 2023 was the year where we got this. We kept getting this matchup. This was the rivalry of the year in 2023, and then we saw it a couple times last year at Wimbledon and the Olympics. But this would only be the second time they would play this year if we do get this matchup. And look, on a hard court, I really like Novak here. I really do. Here, look, could Alcaraz win? Absolutely. This is just a pick on match that we've got here. But like I said earlier, Novak's on a mission here. He wants these majors. This is what he plays for. This is the only reason why Novak Djokovic still plays is because he wants to win a major. And he is going to be absolutely motivated here against Carlos Alcaraz. And I'm going to pick him to make it to the final to set up another meeting between Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic in a major. It would be the third consecutive major they would play, but it would be the first time that they would play in a final. And this matchup has been very one-sided recently. The head-to-head is 6-4 Sinner, but Sinner's won the last the last 5 and the last 6 out of 7. So this has been a really tough matchup for Novak recently. I think the difference between Novak when he plays Sinner and Alcaraz is that Alcaraz can be a little bit more up and down, and he can get some more free points off of Alcaraz. Against Sinner, he doesn't get that because Sinner is much more steady. He's much more consistent. And again, I know I've been saying, oh, Novak, he's on a mission here. Oh, he wants to win these majors. But also, this Sinner matchup has been very, very difficult for him recently. He hasn't, I mean, he didn't win a set in either of the meetings this year against Sinner. Now, look, he was obviously hampered at Wimbledon in that semi, but it has kind of left an impression on you, if at least on me, when I think about it. Could Novak win this? He could, but Sinner has just been too good for him recently, and I just I don't see a way of how he gets through here against Sinner with the way that this matchup has been playing out recently. I'm gonna pick Sinner in 4 here against Djokovic. I think I like Sinner to win a third major this year. Um, Look, the easiest way for Djokovic to beat Sinner, especially right now, is serve +1. That's what Novak needs to take out Sinner. And on these speedy hard courts, he can get that. But he also had that at Wimbledon. And I felt like even through that injury, he still could have served +1 himself away to maybe a set at least, but he couldn't get it done there. And even if Novak's healthy and 100%, Sinner's just been so good recently, but he's also been so good on hard courts. His record on hard courts is just undeniable, and he has been, if you take the last 2 years into account, he's been the best player of the last 2 years. And on hard courts, he's even better than what he is on the natural surfaces. So I have to pick Jannik here against Novak. And that, my friends, is my prediction for the 2025 US Open. Okay, everyone. So there you have it. That is the draw preview for the 2025 US Open. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now, coverage for this tournament is going to be interesting because I have a lot of things to do. I've got school, I've got so many other things. So the daily roundups that we promise we do for majors, the ones that we did for Roland Garros, we did for Wimbledon, I won't be able to do that here for the US Open. I just don't have the time to do that. What I am planning to do and what the goal is to do a daily roundup, short form content style. So YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels. That's the plan for the US Open every day. So it's going to be about a minute, 2 minutes long, just talking about the big stories, how the contenders are doing. That's really what we're going to be doing on the short form content accounts. So that's the goal for the US Open, but that's how coverage is going to look like for the US Open. So apologies for that if you don't have those social media platforms, but that's really the only way for me to do it. But yeah, other than that, not sure when I'll see you again. I'm not gonna promise again because obviously I was gone for 2 weeks, so I don't want to make any other promises of when I'll be back. I will make another video though during the US Open. So maybe I'll definitely do a preview video for the final. I'll try to get a guest on for that as well. But yeah, that's all I've got. Very long episode. Might be one of the longest episodes ever. I'm not sure yet, but it could be. But anyways, folks, thank you for watching. As I mentioned, we are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, we are obviously on YouTube as well. So make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.